Welcome, everybody, to Living Consciously Television, coming to you live from our Denver, Colorado Interactivity Studios, and also we are streaming on YouTube Live and on Google Hangouts and on ConsciousEvolutionMedia.com. And I'm your host and moderator, Coach Steve Toad, and also the creator and founder of Conscious Evolution Media. And our theme today is how to take control of our lives, and our beautiful guest is Charmaine Augustine. She's joining us from Atlanta, Georgia. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
we have our entire cast here with us today. Of course, this is, I don't even remember anymore. Is it like episode 14? Whatever it is. We've been doing this for 3 years now, and so let me introduce. Right next to Charmaine is our one and only Jamie Lerner, and she's joining us from the Windy City of Chicago. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here.
Awesome. And next to Jamie, we have Linda Dyer, and she is joining us from that place where the kangaroos are running wild, and that would be, of course, Australia. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Are they running wild today?
Not today. They have been, though. You're perfectly correct. I was away last week, and they were jumping right in front of me.
Awesome. And then next to Linda, we have Nina de Verderosa, and she's joining us from that place where the lights really never go out, and that's Las Vegas. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Steve. It's good to be here and good to be with the full cast. It's really amazing. And, of course, our guest, I'm fascinated.
And, of course, last but not least, Tori Kosicki, and he's joining us from the Big Apple, New York City. Welcome to the show.
Hey, everybody. Good to be here.
Awesome to have you. So, beginning with our guest cast, of course, Charmaine, is your passion obviously is to helping and assisting people how to take control of their lives. So does that automatically mean, Charmaine, that a lot of people's lives are out of control?
Absolutely. That's what we're all here.
News bulletin.
Yes, I think people are spinning and spiraling out of control because there's just so much happening around us. And I mean, just the airwaves alone, the energy that's out there, there's just so much information and there's so much to do, and I just think people just get caught up in what they see, and they think that just because I see it, I have to have it or I have to do it. So there's hardly any time for stillness, I find, or balance. If you can't have stillness, at least have balance. That's just what I think.
Well, they have neither. They have stillness. No stillness and no balance. They sort of, you're right. It looks like people are wandering around wondering what to do. They seem to be in a fog. They don't know what to do next. And I think it's probably the confusion over the last few years of the problem we've been having with the housing situation that's knocked people off their feet, because the houses, your home was always kind of your foundation, and now they don't even have that. So I think that's kind of put people off keel a little bit of, should I own a home and should I own anything?
Exactly. I agree.
I think it's an interesting topic, though, because if you think that people are out of control, what are we comparing it to? Like, what's in control?
I think we're just more aware that we're out of control, or there's more to do. We're comparing it to, I don't know, maybe 20 years ago, or we're maybe looking at exactly where we're headed to, or where we've gone to as a whole society. I do believe that there are those of us who are more conscious, meaning that we are aware when we're spiraling out of control. So, and then, so we kind of have more resources, or kind of know what to tap into. And I think that's why people like us, life coaches, and people who are really big believers in finding that balance and living in that consciousness, I think that's where we come in. There just needs to be more people that do it for themselves so that they can inevitably start to share it with other people, in my opinion.
Charmaine, is it better to be aware that you're spiraling out of control, or is it better just to spiral out of control without an awareness of it?
Not knowing.
And thus, my dear, we have addictions. Yes.
But this is
That's why we have Las Vegas.
No, this is even totally out of control. You've got me in a birdcage up there doing some dance or something. I mean, come on. No, but what I wanted to say was in Asia, they've got all these young people that have been sitting in the streets for quite some, I think it's 55 days now. So is it the young people that are becoming more conscious than the older people of being very status with life? Because these young people a year or 2 years ago would never have done what they're doing now, especially the Asian children, because they've always been guided through their parents to be quiet and be good and do what you want to do, and they're not doing that now. So is that an example of what's going on, that they are in control, they're not out of control?
Right. I mean, I point well taken, because I think you can look at it two ways. You can look at it and say, well, are we spiraling out of control, or are we taking more control? Or are we trying to be more controlling of our circumstances and situations and control sort of like what's out there, be it media, Hollywood, advertising, politics, just everything. There's just so much information coming at you all at once. So I do believe that the younger people are becoming more aware or more conscious. And in a way, there's sort of an awakening, but I just think that we're not always aware of how to handle that.
Okay, so I think what we're not aware of is that we have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
So even if we're out of control, what are we choosing to do with that or about it? And I think that's where the lack of awareness comes in for people. So be out of control or don't be out of control, but you have a choice, and I think that's the missing link for people. Taking personal responsibility and deciding what they want to do with where they're at and where they're wanting to be.
Maybe we think they're out of control because a lot of people don't quite know how to handle so many situations out there today. There's a lot more situations going on than there ever was before. Maybe we don't know which one to grasp onto, and we just kind of, I'm not going to say give up, because people don't give up. They go on to something else or whatever. But maybe that's the reasoning, whereas the younger generation are more in control of the computers, on the apps, on everything that's going on, whereas, maybe we're not. I don't know.
Well, I have some current personal experiences. I took on a contract after 8 years, 10 years building this thing called Conscious Evolution Media. I realized that I created a bubble. I was living in a bubble of my own creation, and things were really nice.
Of course they were.
Like everything was calm. I had all my friends, all my guests. I had thousands of shows. But I wasn't living in the real world, so I was called to take this on, to take on a contract, and believe it or not, in an industry that's probably one of the most challenging industry on the face of this earth, and that happens to be the mortgage industry, the finance industry. So I am helping this company, and I said on the shows many times, probably hundreds of times, that I would never go back to corporate America. Well, guess what?
Stop stuttering.
I was incorrect.
I admire you, Steve. I admire you 100% for doing that. I think that's amazing, because I know how much your heart was into what you've been doing for 10 years, and I know that.
And what I'm interested in, really, how do we take this, like all these awesome conversations, like the conversations we're having right now, how do we take this into the world and actually make it work? Because this conversation works on these shows. It's wonderful. I love them. But guess what? There is a whole world out there that this information and this way of being, because really this is what we're really doing on the shows, is we are showing the public and the viewers that there's a certain way of being that seems to work, and there is another certain way of being that seems to not work. And it goes back to also what Jamie said. It's a choice. It's a choice between, do you want to do what works, or do you want to do what doesn't work?
I think it's better to do what works, actually.
yeah. I rather do what works. But listen to this. So I committed in this contract, I have committed myself to to do 2 radio shows, but then before that, for the mortgage industry. And I committed to be the leader in changing the face of the mortgage industry so that people in the industry do not do business the old way. And the old way to do business, the old mindset, is really just all about money, making money. Now, this isn't just familiar, I don't think, in the world just about the mortgage industry. That's familiar, I think, in almost most businesses, because that's one of the issues, I think, and problems corporate America has, and the government has, is that it's all about the money. Everything is motivated by money. And I like money. I'm not speaking against money at all. I love money.
Good. We're happy about that, Steve.
When we get up in the morning, and the only reason we want to get up in the morning because we want to make money, I'm not sure I would want to get up in the morning. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it does and it doesn't, because the majority of people have to get up in the morning because they've got children and things that they have to pay for and have to do. So sometimes a lot of these people do not have that choice. And so, and I know it for them it has to be about money because they've got to pay their bills to take care of their obligations.
Yeah, that may be, but guess what? Guess what? In corporate America, the statistics are that 75% of employees are not engaged at work. And you know what that translates to? That translates into lost revenue and lost money. Corporate America is losing anywhere between $450 billion to $550 billion a year because people are not engaged at work. They hate going to work.
You're right.
Okay, so I want to ask you a question, Charmaine. You are in charge of a team of people, aren't you?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about your way that you engage your team to become as successful as they have become working under you or with you.
Well, thank you. I actually do believe, and as Steve was saying, people are not engaged at work. There are those that are not engaged at work, and those are the same people I find that are not fully engaged in their life. So they will show up until it's time to get fired, or someone finds out that they're slacking off, and they'll continue to collect a paycheck because they have bills to pay and things to do. But myself being in charge of a team at work, I find that it's very important to go in and start your day with the right kind of energy. Like Steve asked earlier, how do we bring this to corporate America? How do we share the message that we all carry? And for one, I think it begins with yourself. I used to hear that so often, and it just became so cliche, like, oh, it begins with me, until I started to get a lot deeper and understand exactly what that means. My behavior. It takes me 2 hours to have a cup of coffee. In fact, I bring half of it back home every day. But really enjoying what you do, making yourself, and like Jamie said earlier, is knowing that we have a choice and making that choice to do better, to do differently. And of course, I know when I go in, I feel like I go to work to play, and I really do. I think I play my whole life because I enjoy every single thing I do. And it really is just a choice that I've decided to make, that, you know, I'm going to enjoy this coffee. I'm not going to rush through it. People are like, oh, you post about your coffee every day. Yes, because I really, really enjoy it. Every day it tastes different.
And you know, you are an inspiration to me because not only do you post about that, you post about everything, and you're never apologizing for how wonderful your life is, how successful you are, how much you enjoy everything, and it's such a breath of fresh air. It really is. Yes.
And I know that
I hear a completely different mindset. What I'm experiencing, where I'm at. Your mindset is the right one, which is you only have control over you. I only have control over me, and I'm not trying to control other people in corporate America. I can't. I don't have that power. But guess what? How I show up and how you show up every morning and how all of us show up in whatever we do, makes a huge difference, not just in our life, but
Absolutely.
everybody else's.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
You
So,
can take on an attitude of not being happy. You can take on an attitude of being happy.
yes.
That is true.
Well, that's a choice.
Yeah.
You
I
want
think
to take on.
Yeah, absolutely.
John Canary
But
has a
listen-
great saying.
Go ahead.
When I was working in the Proctor programs, John Canary said to my son when he was out here in Australia, he said, you know what, you may not totally like the job you've got yet. He said, but I want you to pretend that it is your business. He said, now you go to work today and work in that job as if it's your business. And he said, then one day you'll have your business. And my son became an assistant manager in 4 days. It was just that click of attitude, that changing his mindset to go to work and feel really good about what he's doing. Doesn't matter what he's doing right now. And yes, he's got his own business today.
I think you
Right,
brought up
yeah.
a very beautiful question there about somebody else gave him the inspiration to do what he needed to do. So it didn't exactly come from him as a choice, it came from, but he did take it on. His choice was to listen to what this guy said, although it was from someone else, and that was his choice, came in after the fact of saying, yes, wow, that's a good idea, I think I'll do it, and it obviously blossomed. So sometimes we may have to listen to other people of what they have to say and just, you know, not they know better than I do. No, take an attitude on it. Well, maybe they can help me.
And that's the effect. If that person didn't come in with a positive attitude or the right energy to inspire the next person, then maybe that interaction and interchange wouldn't have happened. So yes, it really is each person living in their space and living in that space of energy that they're sending out, and that energy can be good or bad. If you go into work with an attitude or bad energy, then it's going to infiltrate the entire place. And the same is true when I go in and I attract. I'm in sales. I'm a bank manager, and I attract every single ounce of my success. I really, truly don't feel like I work. I feel like my work is in my commute, which is about an hour and 20 minutes into Atlanta from where I live. But it really is that space in my mind. I never drive with the radio on unless I'm on a road trip with the kids. But that hour and 10 minutes is my total silence, and that's when I create and recreate my day, and I send it ahead of me. And when I show up, I am already there, and it makes it so much fun.
You know, that's quite
Wonderful.
Yeah, that's funny because most people would put their radio on to try to tranquilize themselves and get into a place, and you've done the opposite by getting inside yourself with nothing to disturb you in the car at all. And I think that's fascinating. I think it's a great message to put out there that you don't always have to have noise or something to put you where you need to be. Sometimes just you need to take care of you quietly and,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. And back to what we started the conversation with saying is we are spiraling out of control because we don't take the time to be still. Like everybody always complains about Atlanta traffic. I don't think I've ever made a post, maybe a couple of selfies when I'm stuck in traffic, but I make fun of it. But it's never about, oh my God, I can't stand this traffic again. Oh, why do I have to work so far? Because for me, I have 3 children, and I also run my own business, and a husband, but I never really mention him so much unless I take nice pictures with him because he's an adult, so he takes care of himself. And I won't show him the clip of this.
Hopefully he takes care of himself.
Hopefully. But, there's just a lot that's going on, and I think to snuff out your thought process every moment that you have to be by yourself, it's just not bringing us the greatest reward that we possibly could have, or at least for me with, my lifestyle.
Yeah.
Do you feel that, so just a couple, I don't want to get into big examples what I do because it gets to be really technical in the finance industry. So I'm just going to forget all the technicalities and just going to make it simple. So one of the things that I contracted for also is to interview people and hire them. So it's kind of interesting. I was never a recruiter ever in my life, but I noticed that after doing thousands of shows and interviewing thousands of people, I am really a good interviewer.
You think?
We all agree, Steve.
And I interview these people, and all I do is ask questions. And really, I don't talk hardly at all. I just ask questions. And it's amazing how people open up and talk about themselves. And I thought that, you know, I could really read people's energy, and I could really get who they are. And yes, I could do that. But guess what? The conclusion I came to, I can only do it with people that are awake and conscious. I can't do it with people that are not. And I thought I could.
So how do you handle it? How do you handle it when you can't communicate with them?
Well, I can communicate with them, and I feel their frequency, and I think they're going to be okay. And I thought they were going to be okay, but guess what? The first two people I hired, they quit after the first week.
You know, I have to say it's interesting because a lot of people function in a very low vibration. And when you're operating from a very high vibration, you are sensitive to that, and you can pick up on people's low vibration. And it's interesting. You know, no judgment, but it's really sad because
and I didn't
so much potential.
I didn't detect any low vibration, you know, and I felt really comfortable. I mean, I interviewed 31 people, okay, and out of the 31 people, I hired 5. That's a pretty good ratio.
Yeah,
and I felt that I really did a good job, and you know what they quit over? It's like the stupidest things. It's like, and I'm learning, like, okay, so, you know, how many times I said this on the shows, that the only difference that I see between myself and a lot of people that I come in contact with is that I don't just throw in the towel. You know, just because something isn't going my way, or or I may be not getting the exact result that I was looking for, I'm not going to just throw in the towel and quit. I'm going to pick myself up and get back on the horse and do it again.
But not everybody's like that.
But a lot of people are not like that. You know, it's like, I got to give you one example. So this lady that I interviewed, the first hire I did, she was just incredible. I mean, her last name is Winfrey. And I said, "Are you related to Oprah?" And she says, "Possibly." And you know, she's black, and I'm going, "Well, could you look into that? Because that would be really cool if we had, you know, somebody working with us who's related to Oprah Winfrey." And I felt really good about her. She had a wonderful, beautiful energy, just really pleasant. And what happened is we had a contract with her, and the contract stated specifically in what states we can originate mortgages, and Texas wasn't in there. But she didn't read the contract, and 3 days after she started, she got a mortgage, somebody she knew and done business with before in Texas, and we couldn't make it work for her because we legally we can't do business in Texas. So she quit over that.
In some ways,
it
though,
just doesn't compute.
Yes, it does. It does compute, though. That's someone who's very clear, and it wasn't a good fit for her. And in some ways, how wonderful that they can make that decision so quickly. It's like they're not wasting your time. You're not wasting their time, moving right along.
So
in
yeah.
some ways, that's great.
So what I was reminded of that is many people on these shows have said, if you're going to go into business with somebody, fail as quickly as possible.
Very good idea.
But maybe she drag it on. And I said,
maybe she went in and maybe she took the job just to see if she could get this contract for this person in Texas. You don't know the reason why she took it on. I mean, she may have a completely other different reasoning. We don't know that.
But to me, it was like, come on, there are thousands of mortgages right here in our backyard. What's the big deal? Go get another one.
Yeah, there's something more to that. It's that whole thing about deleting, distorting, and generalizing information. So, you know, it's probably she sat there thinking about her friend during the interview. You know what's resonating with me? That Halloween just passed, and we talk about, meeting individuals for the first time who put on that face. Especially imagine in a hiring situation where you're getting ready, you make your move and you walk into the room and you become that person that you think that the other person wants to see for a few moments that you're there, 20 minutes, 15 minutes, or whatever. And then like they say about the seminar junkies, we go back home.
What is your take on that? What is the guest take on that?
Well, I think
and I only have my side of it, so she really should be hearing the other person's side of it as well.
Well, I think, like Jamie said, sometimes people, it's good when you realize that this is or isn't for you. Probably somebody that doesn't pay attention to detail a lot and just figured, hey, this might be a good time as any to quit. But earlier to the point about, someone being maybe a seminar junkie, just going to listen, a lot of times I find that it takes a lot of reinforcement for people to finally get it, or at least to get something, or to start understanding, or to begin that awakening process. So yeah, you might have people that are seminar junkies, but are they really wanting to change or do anything differently or better? Or I think sometimes people are looking for like the answers in terms of do this, do that, instead of understanding themselves as a being and getting to that place of where they truly can begin to live as if they're in that place of being and not just doing things. And I think our society, our children, our adults, were conditioned to equate success and feeling good and being happy with the things that we do or the things that we have versus a way of being. So I like my 7.5 hours of sleep every night, and I go down like clockwork because I realize that it's not about anything else around me. I'm just blessed to be able to extend a part of my energy towards my children or my coworkers or the person I meet in the supermarket aisle or the driver that's next to me on the highway. I'm just thankful to be able to extend a piece of that energy to them. But at the end of the day, it's how am I being in this moment, and am I truly enjoying the moment that I'm in? Am I truly grateful for that moment? And seminar junkies or people that just keep going. I think we're looking for answers.
I don't know what that means, Tori. I used to be a seminar junkie.
Charmaine is making another question come up for me. And you say what it takes for people to get it. I can't help thinking that there's our own individual idea of what it means to get it, and then there is sort of the generic, organic, overall view of what it means to get it. What does it mean to you, to an individual, to get it?
I think getting it is what that person is looking for. So it's not like, oh, don't you get it? Because someone might get something in a different fashion than you might or I might, depending on what they're looking for, meaning depending on what's missing. But in essence, a lot of times we've got to be on that journey to find what's missing to begin with. So in some cases it might take therapy or coaching or just a change of lifestyle. It could just be anything. So when you determine what's missing, then you can try to fill that in. And for the most part, I think if I'm not mistaken, 99.9% of the time, it's love. It's that acceptance. It's that love of self, not necessarily I want someone to love me, but more so I want to become love. I want to become that kind, patient, understanding, joyful human being.
Right.
You want people to like you.
No, it totally resonates with me. And when you say that, especially when you talk about the 99.9% of the individuals who don't feel like they're good enough in one of 1,000 different ways.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, what's making me think about, which may or may not be off subject here, is the basic components of what it is that would make an individual happy. How often do you really, or does an individual sit down and write those things down? What would it make for me to get it? Because I'm still thinking about that word, what it means to get it. And I think the components could be easier than we take, you know, than we realize.
I think I could shed some light on that.
Yeah.
I think. Oh, and I saw Jamie cut in, so I'll let you take that after. But I think one of the things is, and I say this is very dear to my heart. Think about what you were like when you were young. What did you love to do? What made you happy? What kind of made you feel good? Or if you would look back at a photograph or think about a certain time or period in your life, or just the major thread that goes through, what are those things that jolt you to feeling that sense of joy and happiness? I always say I talk to my sisters, and you know, in the evenings, usually when I'm coming home, that's my communication time. And so we were talking this evening about a particular friend of hers, not so much talking about it, but just a particular situation where the person said they weren't happy. And whenever I hear that, I tend to think about, well, what do they like to do? Because a lot of time, whether it's a spouse or your children or whatever, they'll say, well, you know, I'm bored, or, oh, this person needs to make me happy, etc. But you can't. It's never going to happen.
Wait, I just heard something that's really important. It's not about what they like to do. Happiness and joy, for me, does not depend on what I'm doing. I am happy right now in this moment.
Right.
It depends on anything.
But Steve, you're happy because you're connected to yourself. So
exactly.
and you have connection to yourself. So we're talking about people that don't even understand maybe what connection to themselves is. But all of this is about personal responsibility. So I think it has to start there. Like, the person has got to be willing to take personal responsibility for whatever the conversation is, whether it's about happiness or a job or connection or love. I mean, it starts with ourselves.
That is absolutely true.
I think there's people out there. I think there's people out there that just seem to take on the negative side of life. It doesn't matter how you try to wheel them in your way of being happy or thinking a different way. It always relates back to them gossiping about somebody or something that is very depressing and pulls the other person down. But that seems to make them happy when they do that.
Right.
I get very confused on all that, because I don't like to do that, to gossip about somebody. I don't believe in that. If I don't like the person, I'm not going to be with them. I don't want, you know, just because I don't like a person doesn't mean to say that's a bad person. It just means I don't get on with that person. That's all. That person's perfectly nice and normal. But I see a lot of people love to get this energy of talking about people, and they get this thrill, and you see the energy, and you often think, does this really make them happy to do this? And does it? I don't think so.
And I think that's when you are in love with yourself, you're happy with yourself. So you don't really need anybody else out there to make you feel happy, because you're already happy. However, people that are not happy with themselves, they need a crowd. So they gather.
They need an audience. They definitely need people.
It's like a renter crowd, you know. They gather this crowd of people that are going to make them happy. And if one of those people does anything to them between, then all of a sudden they're ousted, and they go and batter about everybody else. And I think that's a tough gig, where you know, I've got a couple of clients, and it's constantly about, well, you know, they upset me, and I said, but nothing can affect you without your consent. So what are they doing that you are choosing to allow you to feel upset by that? What's going
what,
on
or
for
what
you?
really upsets that person. Yeah, exactly. What's going on with them? And I go back to the previous question because when I say think about what you like to do, it all goes back to our gifts and talents. So if you were somebody maybe like, I know I found some newfound gifts and talents. You know, I paint. I like to bake. I love to, run jokes with my kids or do different things like that. The elements of who you are, they do come out in your everyday life, and that's happiness. It's not something that you can put your finger on and say, oh, this is making me happy. It ought to be more, I am happy because, or I am happy with me. And if yourself simply is that embodiment of everything you're made of.
Mm. Yeah, I think sometimes. Yeah, go ahead, Steve.
Well, don't you think what we're talking about really is just coming home to self, and not be so focused on the outside world? Because Tori was saying earlier that people maybe should write down some of this stuff, and what people's response is, there's no time to take out from their busyness because they're reacting to everything that's happening out there.
Yeah, I mean, we're all reacting, and even when you do write down the things that you want, and just like you were talking about, Charmaine, that you like to bake or paint, I mean, I know many of my clients and many personal friends that like to do things that they can't because they have financial obligations and they can't make money baking, or they can't make money.
Well, hold on one second, though, Tori. That's such untrue. People make excuses all the time.
Okay.
If there's something you enjoy doing, then you make time to do it because it's important to you. But men especially, I have to say that they are notorious for saying that they don't have time to do certain things. I think that's just not true.
You're right.
Men make time to do the things that are important to them, and they hide behind work all the time.
Well, you're absolutely right that men are from Mars and women are from Venus, and that's a challenge that I see all the time, even in casual conversation, is that a woman or women will always say what you just said, and men will always say what they say. And for example, in some of the circles that I'm in now, there are a lot of men who are making a lot of money and have to make a lot of money in order to sustain the lifestyle that their wives are in, where they're going to charity, fundraising events, et cetera, et cetera. And at the end of the day, there's only time to go to sleep. And I'm telling you the truth, that after a 14-hour day, that's what's left, sleep.
That I have to tell you also that I do believe that's a choice, and that men have a choice. Men are not victims to the circumstances that they have created through the spouse that they have chosen and the lifestyle that they have committed themselves to. Well, and they would probably tell you otherwise, but I'm so sorry.
Well, they need guts enough to turn around and say, I'm sorry, dear, but I can't afford that, and I don't want to work 14 hours a day, and actually have a back on it, and actually be honest as to what they can do, rather than, please, sir, I've got to do this. Funny you should say you can find time for anything, because you can. I just started writing sonnets. Now, sonnets take some time, and you have to get yourself into some kind of mode, or I do anyway. And I've started doing that, but that's something I created that put into my life that I really didn't have time for. But because I enjoyed it and loved it so much, it's funny, very strange, that all of a sudden I have got the time to do it.
Right.
So, wonderful.
Because you made that choice.
Yeah,
you made the time.
I made the time, and I didn't really neglect anything else, and I don't, maybe something else has got neglected, I don't know, to my knowledge I don't know, but so you do have time, sorry, and you're absolutely right, that if you open up that gate, you do have time for men and for women, whether you're from Mars or where you're from. I think
that's because it's not about time.
I don't think it's about time either.
It's not about
time at all.
No,
it's definitely not about time. But there is some, there is something to be said for opportunity, and I'll give you an example. I've I'm 54 years old. I had a job for 6 months my entire life. So I've always been self-employed, and I've always been fortunate in the sense that I've been able to create jobs or realities for myself where I have nothing but time. So I've always able to do anything I wanted to do while working effectively, efficiently. But that's been my situation. My dad, for example, we used to call him the Beef because he used to come home from his banking job and he wouldn't talk to anybody, and then he would throw his leg over the couch and he'd look like a side of beef until he went to bed. and he did this until he took early retirement at 58, I think. And it took him about 6 months to get out of the getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning mode. But then he started really enjoying his life. He started doing all those things that he always wanted to do when he wasn't the Beef. And I think it's really easy for us to say, well, just do what you love, do what you enjoy. But, it's like when you have all this stuff in the back of your head that I have to do this and I have to do that, and then, a coach will tell you, well, do you really have to do it, or is it a choice? Well, at the end of the day, if you're barely making ends meet, I don't know whether or not it's a choice. And I think we're talking today about a lot of people. I'm sorry.
I think you're absolutely right in a sense.
In a sense.
Meaning, yeah, when you're talking about, okay, you got to make ends meet. Now, I get it, and I understand that there are people that live that way where everybody's got to make the ends meet. We got to pay bills and all that stuff. However, there's got to be 1, 2, or 3 things that really brings you joy. There's got to be a downtime. There's got to be a sense of balance somewhere, because that's where people get into addictions and spiraling, and they're going through the motions, like you even alluded to, maybe a husband that, probably feels like he's got to work 20 hours to afford the lifestyle that his wife wants. Yeah, right. Who really wants the boat? Or, the wife's shopping and she's buying all this fabulous stuff, but they can't go out on a date. She's wearing it out with the girls or her other guy or whatever. So it's like, in essence, who really wins here when you are just doing? I think that a lot of people, they allow their lives to literally pass them by, and they don't understand where did it go, because you're not taking that time, to really do the things that brings you joy. It doesn't mean that everybody's going to be swinging from chandeliers 24/7.
No, but even if a man watches football on Sunday for 3 hours, to somehow be able to say, okay, this is my downtime. This is something that somehow allows me to sit back, relax, enjoy myself, and to tune out. Well, I think that to acknowledge that as time for oneself, that's important, because that is time for oneself. And I'm not so sure that men are good at that, at acknowledging that they are actually taking time for themselves. So I think that would be helpful.
Well, yes, but there's also a lot of women out there that have got to do a couple of jobs because they're single parents and they've got children to feed and things to do, and they're doing 2 jobs, and so they sometimes don't have a choice. They have an obligation of what they've got themselves into, because to get yourself into that, one has to work that way or do however the dice falls. But these people have actually, they've got to do what they've got to do. As you were saying, Tori, sometimes these people do not have a choice when they're little kids. 3, 4, and 5 have got to go to school, and they've all got to eat, and they've all got to have beds made and this done, and someone's got to do it. And
but hang on, what's missing here for me is that all that's I go with all that. Yeah, you got to work. You got 2 kids, 3 kids, single parent. Yeah. However, let's say that lady with the 2 kids works as a cashier at Walmart, and when you show up in the morning, you have a choice if you have a smile on your face or you don't. And you have a choice about how you greet your clients, and you have a choice about how you feel about your job. You have a choice about how you engage at work, how you engage with other people. That has nothing to do with the fact that you got to work and you have 2 kids and you have to provide. That's a choice that we all have individually, how we are going to show up, who we are going to be. And it doesn't matter what we're doing.
No, and I think if you're connected to yourself, it's much easier than to get through doing all of that.
And Corey, I think that's why your father was the half a beef or whatever you call it.
Side of beef.
I'm hungry now.
Australia, kangaroos or lamb. Anyway, I think, because he goes to work in a job that he chooses, he just doesn't like it. And so they come home spent. And it's not always from the job, it's from the attitude they had in the job.
Yeah, but that costs. That costs. There's a cost.
Yeah.
Right. Well, it had the word architecture just keeps popping in my head, and everything that you said, Steve. There's a blueprint for that individual who has all this adversarial thing going on in their life, but yet they can smile and be kind and give the shirt up their back because it doesn't really cost them anything. Or you can have that other nasty individual who's right next to them. So there's an architecture or a design or a blueprint for happiness. There's also a blueprint for our lives, right? So when you're older and you made that mistake, like my dad did, to get swept into a job that he hated from the time he was in his 20s, and now when he was in his 60s, he became the beef. That was a choice he made 35, 40 years earlier.
Yeah, so that was his journey. Yeah,
that was his journey.
He didn't know, but he didn't know. He did not know the blueprint.
He didn't know the blueprint.
And I think that's a very good point, Nina, and I think there's just a big difference between ignorance and then taking that knowledge. And then we talked about people going to convention after convention or seminar after seminar. There's one thing about being given knowledge, but that's on a conscious level. If you are not subconsciously putting that knowledge into your body and acting on it with emotion, then it's just going in and coming out. It's not really affecting us. It's when we get emotionally involved with the material and the information that people are talking to us about that one day we say, you know what, we can do this. Whatever this is that we wanted to do, if it suits and it's our choice, we can do this. So many people just take on all the information. They're too scared to emotionalize it and make a go of it, and that's why it never seems to eventuate.
And I think we're scared of failing. We don't want to fail. We always want to, if we go into something new, we want it to be perfect. We don't want to be criticized. We don't want to say that we failed when we did it. And why would we be afraid of failing? I think it's looking at the other side of the coin and saying, well, at least you went and tried it, which is a great thing to do. At least you tried it, it didn't work. Try something else to make it work. But I think we're afraid, very much afraid of being criticized as of failing of something we try to do, so we'd rather not do it and not have that criticism.
Absolutely. Well, that pairs up with the belief that most people don't believe they're good enough at something. So the people who try when they don't feel like they're good enough are really brave individuals. Yeah. So having that fear is, it's almost a high five because, you know what, at least you're trying it, at least you're going for it. Yeah. A lot of people won't try.
No, and who cares if you fail? What difference does it make to anybody if you fail? It makes no difference at all. You just say, well, at least I tried it. Let's try something else. What else do I have in my mind that I want to try? Why not? The world is out there. We're all born with one breath. We start with the breath, and we leave with the breath. That's how we start our life. We start with the breath, and we leave with the breath. And it's what we do in between, but don't be afraid to do anything. We all have that opportunity, everybody. I believe.
Well, and in the meantime, somewhere between those two breaths, we figure out why we had the breath to begin with. What was the purpose of the breath?
Well, the purpose to breathe was at the beginning was to stay alive. And the last breath was saying ta-ta.
Yeah, but just to keep taking breaths it really doesn't work, does it? Because then all we're doing is just existing day to day, moment to moment.
This is your life. This is what you can do.
And I'd like to be out of control.
I am out of control. I'm totally out of control.
If all I'm doing is taking a breath, give me out of control any day.
Well, like you said, this is our life, and the purpose, hey, the purpose is just to live it in gratitude.
Yeah.
And that's it, from one breath to the next, and finding out that you are that important. That's why you were created, because you're so important. And getting to that point, unfortunately, for a lot of people, it's been damaged when they were younger. Kids, they felt like they could never, be good enough, and they grew up as adults that way. And then they feel like, well, if you feel like you're not good enough, that means that something is lacking. And they forever live their lives as if something is always lacking. So it's really difficult, I think, to really find that place of happiness if you have not come. I think Steve said it best, what I was trying to say in like 25 sentences. It really is about coming back home to self, really. Like, that peace, having that peace, having that centeredness, having those quiet moments, like Jamie said, whether it's chilling out and watching football on a Sunday evening. I know when I am off, I either choose if I want to substitute teach, or do I want to spend the day at the spa, or do I choose to watch movies in bed? Do I choose to light the fire today? Do I just want to, it's a choice that we make every day from day to day.
But you know what, Charmaine? You are a living, breathing example, which is why I love you so much.
Thank you.
Of all that's possible. No, it's true. And
the kumbaya is here.
No, because on Facebook, Charmaine really shows these wonderful examples, day to day, moment to moment, of all of these choices that she is making and taking responsibility for, and it's mind blowing, and it's wonderful. It's really, really wonderful. So yeah, I appreciate every single one of them.
And it's simplicity. It's like taking the simple things and making something big out of it, and feeling like life really is, from one breath to the next, it really is about celebrating it, a celebration of life and making the biggest deal out of the smallest thing.
Yeah, and I think that's very well said, Charmaine, because I think sometimes we think it has to be something very big, and it doesn't.
It could be a cup of coffee. It's like...
I do that. I did that today, and I do it a lot, actually. I go into my backyard with a cup of tea, and I just sit there for about 5 minutes and just totally, people say chill out, but I don't really chill out. I just relax, and I look around, and I look at the trees growing. And
You were chilling.
I'm chilling. Yeah, well, it's getting a bit cold here anyway. I was chilling. But anyway, it's just having that, and it doesn't have to be an hour. It doesn't have to be a long time. It can be 5 minutes. It can be 2 minutes. It's just getting your mind out of everything and just sort of having that little quiet time and relax and just look. And I think we always think we don't have time to do that. And I think we do, any place. Even if it's in the car. You do it in the car. It doesn't have to be a certain place. You don't have to be in a certain surroundings to relax.
Right.
You can do it anywhere.
I like that. That 5 minutes, any place. It's just, breathe. That's why we were given breath. We could have probably lived any other way, but the reason we had breath was because we needed to just breathe. And just like you said, 5 minutes, just taking that time and just being with self. I think ever so often, every couple of hours or so, when our wheels are turning, you just have to return to self. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then you get back out there. And it breaks up your day, but it really brings you back into where you need to be.
Yeah. So that's great, Charmaine. But that's really funny to me because we are always with ourselves. Always.
Yes, we are always with ourselves, but not always present that we are with ourselves.
Ourselves, yeah.
So we need to check in, and Yeah,
Right.
checking
Yeah, I'm
in
always
is
with
a good
me.
thing.
I'm always walking around with me. Yeah, but maybe
Right.
sometimes not always with me. Consciously.
You're not always
I'm
there.
always
You're
with
not
me.
always
Yeah.
there.
Even the crazy, stupid things I do a lot. Oh dear, but these things happen.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
why you gotta check in.
Yeah,
That's great.
check in with yourself. Check in with yourself.
Yeah.
So what did we learn about, like how to take control of our lives? What did we learn? Well, one of the things I learned, and let's go around and just share some of that. One of the things I learned about how to take control of our lives is that, like when I gave you that example of the 2 people I hired, I didn't really make a big deal out of it that they only lasted 1 week. I just said, thank you. I didn't blame them. I didn't blame myself. I just said, thank you. You were in my life for a week. What I learned is that, from that experience, is that maybe I don't know how to read people as much as I thought I did. And that's it.
Or maybe they tried to fool you.
Huh?
They fooled you. Who knows what they did?
Oh, I don't even know if that's important. It's like I didn't fail at anything. I just had an experience, and this was the experience, and thank you for having the experience for 1 week and not having it for 6 months or a year. Because
Exactly.
if it wasn't going to work out, I'd rather know within the first week.
Yeah.
So it's fantastic. Thank you.
Maybe, Steve, your blueprint didn't include unconscious people.
Well, it has to, because that's just the way the world is. It is what it is.
And I would like to thank Charmaine for actually confirming how I am every day, because I'm very much like you. I really don't let things bother me because I sort them out as to why, and then I come to the conclusion that it's no big deal and it's no problem. And I live, and I have nearly always lived a very successful, happy life. I'm just one of those sort of positive, happy people. I'm just that type of person. If someone cuts in front of me, when I'm driving, I turn around and say, well, maybe they saved me from accident, or maybe they did a good thing. So I try to look at the other side of it, not being angry. I very, very rarely get angry, but when I do, watch out. But,
I'll second that.
thank you,
Steve.
I'm going to take it off. Steve, I'm not taking that on. Are you kidding? You think I'm going to take that on? I'm going to laugh it off.
I'm not taking you on, Dinan. I can't win that. I can't win that battle.
Oh, good. I'm okay.
You're not gonna get in that birdcage, Steve.
Okay. So now we've concluded that. I'm not sitting in a birdcage.
I don't even want that battle.
I can sell that on pay-per-view, the Birdcage Showdown in Vegas.
There you go.
Yeah, but there was a recent photograph up, and it's really funny. I'm interviewing on the red carpet, and in one hand I've got the microphone, in the other hand I've got a martini. And somebody posted it. Somebody took that photograph, and somebody posted it. So I said, okay, so now the gig's up. Yes, I do drink martinis, but yeah, it's out there. I'm being exposed. Anyway.
So anybody else about just taking some...
Yeah, something that just
summary?
came up for me while you were talking is a statement I just put on the back page of my new book, and that is that we've all got fears and we've all got limitations, as Jamie rightly said today, and I think we all know that I'm not good enough is one of those most powerful. But I think if we can think past that and think that we're also put on this planet not only to breathe, but that we were put on here with a gift, and that gift, in most times, if we just start to ask ourselves and have that 5 minutes, or as Dina Proctor says, 3 minutes of meditation and connect with us and just ask, what is that gift? What is it that we were meant to be on the planet for? And let the fears and the limitations somehow subside while we just head into, because funnily enough, the money then just comes. When we're on the planet and we're doing what we were put on the planet to do, we're paid by the universe through whatever company you're working for, whether it's your own or somebody else's. So for the people out there, yes, you know, we understand that there's fear and limitation, but you also have a gift. You have a true gift. And not many of us get to see your beautiful gift when we're so obsessed with what we don't have. So find that gift and share it.
Oh, that's so nice, Linda. That's really nice. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Anybody else?
Yeah, I think there's a big, and we talk about the self all the time. I think there's a big expectation that the self is operational with you all the time, consciously and unconsciously. And I think a practice that I've been doing the last 3 months that I knew about and just sort of kind of poo-pooed it is that I start my day by asking myself specifically for assistance and guidance getting through certain aspects of the day. And it's been an amazing change for me in the outcome of the day when I literally look to myself, not with an assumption that it's there and engaged, but that it's not engaged, and that I'm consciously looking to engage it. If that makes sense to you guys.
Yes, and that you're open to receiving the information, right?
Yes, for information, specifically for information.
Yeah. That's fantastic.
I think I really came away with, well, conversation was very lively, so y'all are awesome. I hope I get to come back again.
Anytime.
You never know what happens.
But I really do believe in in balance, for sure. And also, I think pretty much everybody, this resonated with most everyone on the panel. It's about gratitude and asking and thanking more than anything else. Asking yourself, giving yourself the permission, but also living in a space of gratitude. And for me, I think when I get up in the mornings, I am very thankful. I say thank you for. I thank my body. I thank God. I'm just thankful. And whatever energy that I put out there, if, you know, like you said, if it's an accident ahead of you or someone rushing or whatever, it's always, well, thank you. You know, there's never a huff and puffing going on. It's usually more of a you know, living in that space of gratitude. So I think for me, I think that helps me to not spiral out of control.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Yeah.
Nice.
Jamie.
Yes. I'm all about. I'm all about choice, and I just think that we have to choose, even if we choose not to choose. I think that's a choice. So I think it's about choice and personal responsibility and loving ourselves and forgiving ourselves and for just feeling good, you know, whatever that means.
To the person, yeah.
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 I'm all about feeling good.
You need none?
None? Oh, me. I did. I actually thanked our guest. I thanked Charmaine for allowing us to sort of, you know, open up and have our feelings out there, and also to confirm how I feel, and that it's okay how I feel, and it's wonderful. And there's nothing wrong in it to feel good, because there's a lot of people out there, if you're going around and you're feeling good and you're feeling great, they'll do anything to put you down and pull you down to where they are. And I just don't go there. So I just wanted to thank you and also the panel in listening to all of you and all your different ways of putting the same thing out there, but each one being very, very different. So you have the advantage of learning each one and taking it all in and thinking, well, I can learn from this one and this one and this one and this one. In other words, don't be a closed book. Be very, very open, because sometimes we think, well, that person will definitely not know what to do, and you never know. That person might just give you that very special word. So I think on the conversation, what we talked about today, and Charmaine, because of you, we've done this, and I think it's been wonderful to open up and just feel good about ourselves. I mean, this is all we have. I don't care with the cars, the houses, anything. I don't care. This is all we have. That we have nothing else unless we have this under control and we know where we want to go and we know what we want. Go out there and get it. It's okay. It's okay to have more or to have less or whatever it is. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So thank you, Charmaine.
Oh, you're welcome, and thank you. You guys are brilliant and beautiful. You too, Steve.
Yes, Steve, you're okay.
Thank you. I'm okay. Thank you.
And
If I'm okay, you're okay. So
Yeah.
thank you, Charmaine, to bringing this great theme, how to take control of our lives, to our network. And of course, if anybody on the live show or on the recording when we publish it on YouTube, when you watch it, if there's anything that we did said that touched, moved, and inspired you, please continue to come back to consciousrevolutionmedia.com and continue to watch all of our shows. We're now on a network time of 7 o'clock in the evening on Mountain Time, which is 9 o'clock Eastern. So keep coming back, because these conversations can transform any of us, including me, at any moment. So I never want to stop. Thank you for all of your hard work, the cast, being here and making this really a live and exciting show this evening. It's a new season, and I don't even remember anymore what season we're starting. I think it's 14.
Doesn't matter.
Really matter. So thank you, everybody. Have a great evening, and we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.